Amazon is an extraordinary company with very few rivals. It is one of the first companies in the world to hit $1 trillion valuation. It has changed the way that we shop, led the way in cloud services, and it refuses to stop innovating. But there are important questions being raised about whether Amazon is simply too big and what that means for fair competition and our society. A growing number of people agree that if left unchecked, Amazon could be a serious threat to the future of innovation and small business.
According to eMarketer, a source Amazon cited in submissions to this committee, Amazon has nearly 7 times the market share of its closest e-commerce competitor. One seller told us that, and I quote, Amazon continues to be the only show in town. No matter how angry sellers get, they have nowhere else to go.
In this video, we're going to go through a list of the ways that Amazon has abused its power to quash the competition and ensure that it will never lose. Let's start with number 1, undercutting the competition. Amazon has huge cash reserves and cash flow from a variety of streams. This allows them to take steep losses in order to price out the competition. Using this tactic, Amazon can force a competitor to sell out or collapse, and without competition, they can set whatever price they like. Let's look at the famous case of diapers.com.
Your own documents make clear that the price war against diapers.com worked, and within a few months it was struggling, and so then Amazon bought it. After buying your leading competitor here, Amazon cut promotions like Amazon.mom and the steep discounts it used to lure customers away from diapers.com, and then increase the prices of diapers for new moms and dads. Mr. Bezos, did you personally sign off on the plan to raise prices after Amazon limited its competition?
Amazon announcing it is shutting down the company behind diapers.com. Amazon acquired that company for more than $500 million back in 2010. This development team will now be moved to Amazon Fresh, the company's grocery division. An additional 263 employees will be laid off in that situation. Amazon shares this morning up a fraction.
2. Leveraging third-party seller data. Amazon is by far the most dominant platform for third-party sellers to sell their products. This means that it would be very difficult for average sellers to refuse to sell on Amazon without falling drastically behind. And now many controversies are emerging about how Amazon is abusing its access to the data of the third parties on its platform. By doing this, Amazon is essentially able to steal the business plans of its competitors, combine those plans with its incredible economies of scale and its gigantic cash reserves in order to eliminate competition and take control of any market it pleases.
You have access to data that your competitors do not have. So you might allow third-party sellers onto your platform, but if you're continuously monitoring the data to make sure that they're never going to get big enough that they can compete with you, that is actually the concern that the committee has.
So it looks around the retail landscape and says, oh yeah, there's a little margin there in HDMI cables. We'll make our own for 8 cents. We'll sell them for $8, and that's great. Oh, rugs, those are expensive to ship, so we won't do that. But they have this wonderful ability to take the money they make in web services and then undercut all their retail competition, and their market share keeps on growing.
If you look at how India has treated Amazon, India has passed laws that prohibit the owner of the platform from selling on the platform. Why did they do that? Because it protects the businesses in India so that it can sell without being devastated by Amazon itself.
This issue of third-party seller data has become a very serious charge. In November of 2020, the EU filed a major antitrust lawsuit against Amazon that could cost them up to $28 billion US. 3. Price fixing.
You know when you're shopping online and the price of the thing you're looking at only appears when you put that thing in your shopping cart? What's up with that? Well, it has to do with something called minimum advertised pricing, or MAP. Here's the deal. MAP is an agreement between a manufacturer, say, I don't know, Samsung, and a retailer like Amazon, which governs the price that Amazon can advertise for a particular Samsung product, like a TV.
The giant internet retailer Amazon.com told ABC News today it is sorry for experimenting with a controversial retailing practice. Some people call it a practice, charging different people different prices.
Amazon faces a class action suit over e-book pricing. The e-commerce giant is accused of inflating prices in collusion with the 5 largest publishers in the US.
These 5 publishers control 80% of the US ebook market. The suit was filed in New York on January 14, 2021. It seeks monetary reimbursement for consumers who purchased ebooks through Amazon and requires Amazon and its co-conspirators to stop enforcing anti-competitive price restraints. This is just one example of how big companies can collude in order to unfairly overcharge consumers. 4. Price gouging. Price gouging or profiteering is where an entity takes advantage of an emergency or disaster to artificially and exponentially inflate the price of essential goods.
The new report documents how Amazon set prices for essential products during the crisis at levels that would violate price gouging laws in many states. Public Citizen found Amazon marked up some products by as much as 1,000%. For example, disposable face masks sold for $40 instead of $4.
Because you can't get it on the market. And when you get it, it's very, very expensive. Also, to Purell and Mr. Amazon and Mr. eBay, if you continue the price gouging, we will introduce our product, which is superior to your product, and you don't even have the floral bouquet. So stop price gouging.
Tax lawyers and government tax breaks. Amazon is a massive international corporation. With the right money and know-how, they're able to circumvent the differences in international tax laws and broker huge local government tax breaks in order to minimize their tax liability like no other business can.
New York's governor and mayor saying the $3 billion in tax incentives they gave Amazon for an expected $27.5 billion in tax revenue would pay off big for New Yorkers.
That is the highest rate of return for an economic incentive program that the state has ever offered.
This certainly consolidates New York City as a great international tech hub.
Despite positive polling on the deal, a groundswell of New Yorkers vehemently disagreeing.
We want to make sure that they know that this community is going to stand up and fight against this deal.
Any politician in this progressive city and our state who's willing to hand up $3 billion to Amazon, that should be a career ender right there.
According to data compiled by the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy, Amazon had an effective federal tax rate of just 3% over 10 years.
They're taxing me on unemployment. They're taxing me at every corner I get. But you have a man that's a billionaire, and all of them are billionaires, and they're not being taxed. What part of the game is that? Tell me, where the right and wrong is in that?
6. Banning competitive products.
The rivalry among tech giants is heating up again. Amazon is banning the sale of video streaming devices made by its competitors.
In 2015, Amazon banned the selling of Google Chromecast and Apple TV streaming devices on its platform from October 29th. This allowed them to unfairly prop up their new home streaming system and capitalize on the holiday season. The power to unilaterally close down major revenue streams of its competitors is devastating and cannot be taken lightly. 7. Suspending competitor accounts. Amazon is able to suspend seller accounts without warning and with reportedly next to no explanation as to why. The seller will need to go through an appeals process, which can take weeks or months. During this time, their assets on Amazon are frozen, profits are lost, and Amazon and other competitors are able to easily capitalize on the seller's market share.
So literally in a matter of a second, your entire FBA business can collapse. Amazon can block you, suspend you, ban you forever from selling on Amazon.
Today, I woke up to quite possibly the worst email you can receive from Amazon. It said, your Amazon.com selling privileges have been removed. On top of that, a few days ago, I got a message from Amazon saying that my main product is under investigation. And Amazon basically took down my listing and they took all my inventory.
And basically when Amazon receives these complaints that have no basis at all, it's entirely nonsense, you're selling genuine products, Amazon staff in Hyderabad and Bangalore, without legal training, doesn't have the ability to do a really thorough evaluation or any evaluation, and they knock sellers off the listing, and they cause the suspension of sellers' accounts, which cause you significant damages.
8. Coercive working conditions. For a company that has such massive potential to expand its control of the job market, the way that they treat their employees should be tightly assessed.
In an Amazon order fulfillment center and found workers were urinating in bottles because they were discouraged from taking bathroom breaks.
Other things, I mean, people were afraid, people were receiving disciplinaries for taking toilet breaks. The productivity targets were so high that workers were afraid to go to the bathroom. I mean, a survey came out of the Amazon warehouse I worked in recently, which found that 74% of workers there, order pickers, were afraid to use the bathrooms because of the productivity targets.
In a warehouse like this, you can walk up to 27 miles a day and can get just 10 minutes for lunch. Staff are monitored round the clock and penalties dished out for talking to colleagues. 3 strikes and you're out.
Because of the way that Amazon operates, because of the way that they set their rates for productivity, it's a lot harder work physically, but also psychologically.
We're not treated as human beings. We're not even treated as robots. We're treated as part of the data stream.
Like others, believes that Amazon has a pattern of deliberately sacking temporary workers at the start of their 13th week to avoid the legal obligation of having to give them the same rights and benefits as full-time staff.
Toilet during the day. If you took a day off sick, you were given a disciplinary for that. And if you received 6 of these disciplinaries, you would effectively lose your job.
You said at one warehouse in the UK, Amazon workers called ambulances more than 115 times in 3 years?
Yeah, that was the warehouse I worked in, yeah. So that says it all, really, in my view.
9. Service cancellation.
Parler, the app that has become popular among many supporters of President Trump, has been cut off. Apple and Google removed Parler from their app stores for failing to moderate content that incites violence. And Amazon says it is removing the app from its web hosting service for violating its terms of service.
A free speech alternative to Twitter. They don't censor you, you can say what you want. The president is on Parler, and that has drawn a lot of people who realize they are being suppressed by Twitter.
Amazon's cancellation of web services to Parler is a fairly recent case which occurred after a series of bans from Facebook, Twitter, Google, and Apple. With the involvement of all these major parties against a very small platform, it's hard not to be worried about the nature of these actions. Parler was reportedly taken down by Amazon because of its inability to police incitements of violence. But there are plenty more reports showing that the violence is also incited on all of Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, TikTok, and YouTube.
But analysts say some of the same terms Parler was accused of allowing were also trending on Facebook and Twitter. So, why weren't they taken down?
After Twitter banned President Trump on January 8th, the increased new users and activity caused Parler to go down for 7 hours, resulting in a backlog of 26,000 instances of content that potentially encouraged violence. However, over the next 2 days, Parler was able to systematically remove almost all of this content, which progress was reported to AWS, and within 48 hours by the end of day Sunday, when AWS shut Parler down, Parler had removed all but some 1,000 problematic posts. Parler also identified additional steps it was taking to quickly identify and remove problematic content. Indeed, AWS had known since mid-December that Parler would be adopting in 2021 an artificial intelligence AI system that would pre-screen inappropriate content, which had shown promising initial results, and there was discussion of Parler adopting AWS's own AI system. But in the end, none of this seemed to matter to AWS.
They had a contract with Amazon that if they're going to be terminated, they get 30 days, which is enough time for them to solve their problems and move to a new, provider. Mm-hmm. But what happens now is Twitter was also using Amazon. So what do we get? In this lawsuit, it's fascinating. Parler says recently Amazon signed a multi-year hosting deal with Twitter. Then Parler is fast becoming the #1 competition for Twitter. Amazon bans Parler. So there's clearly a conflict of interest and a benefit for Amazon's large, massive, and valuable multi-year contract partner. But here's what they say. They claimed Parler wasn't enforcing their rules. More specifically, they said, we don't believe they will enforce their rules. There was, I think, something like 60, I could be wrong. There was a small handful of posts that were inciting violence. Parler said in the suit, we remove them all immediately because they violate our rules. We do not allow incitement to violence. It is illegal. At the same time, when Amazon gave them 24 or so hours to move their entire platform, breaching the contract they had with them, Hang Mike Pence was trending on Twitter, and Twitter did nothing. And Amazon said nothing. No public statement, no threats to Twitter, nothing. We're also hearing that they're trying to claim that these people at the Capitol were organizing on Parler. Glenn Greenwald said that's not true. They organized on Facebook. Where was anyone going after Facebook?
You could easily argue that in a fair world, all of these platforms should undergo the same treatment as Parler. Whether or not these big companies acted in a just manner is debatable, but what is evident is that they have both the will and the power to terminate whatever they deem as problematic without fair notice or due process of law. Okay, let's conclude. In this video, we have seen that Amazon can use your data to steal your business plan, turn the vital service of your business off, suspend your seller account, and ban your products without any notice and without any due process of law. They have massive cash reserves, highly scaled infrastructure and distribution systems, the ability to pay extremely low tax, the ability to withstand steep losses, and price fix with other huge companies.
There's a saying in Silicon Valley among entrepreneurs that the secret to a long, happy life is not to compete with Amazon.
The power that Amazon has to attack, control, and destroy their competition is diverse and growing every day. As a company in a market-based economy, Amazon has the right to conduct their business in any legal way that they like. But when a company has the power that Amazon does, it would not be difficult to agree that it is necessary to assess them against a very different standard. The most perplexing thing about Amazon is that despite the myriad of ways in which they have been shown to stifle the competition, it's also impossible to deny that they are easily one of the most innovative companies in the world, and that many businesses would not be nearly as profitable or even exist without their products and services. Amazon is balanced on a fine edge. On one side, it is a miracle, bred from competition and customer obsession that has vastly improved the way that we live and work. On the other side, they have the power to ensure that they will never lose, and they easily have the potential to be one of the biggest threats to the future of small business, innovation, and fair competition.